Hey guys, this is Clinton Jeff from UnleashedPhones.com, and this is a quick look at the new HTC One Max versus the HTC One Mini and the regular HTC One first. I'll do a detailed review of how big a difference it is later on, but just to give you a quick idea of the size, this is the regular HTC One, this is the HTC One Mini, and as you can see, this is the gigantic HTC One Max, which is huge in comparison with the HTC One. Putting those aside, the HTC One Max is a pretty huge device. It measures 164.5 by 82.5 by 10.29 millimeters, so it's pretty large. It weighs in at 217 grams, which means it is a little bit heavy, and you have a huge 5.9 inch full HD 1080p display, which is pretty huge. Powering all of this, you have a Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 processor, clocked at 1.7 gigahertz dual quad core. So it is quite fast all around. Of course, it would be nice to have the Snapdragon 800 processor on this, so it's a little bit strange as to why HTC chose to go with this processor instead. To show you what we have running all of this here, we have Android 4.3 Gingerbread with HTC Sense UI 5.5 on top of it. There you go, right there. This is a near final version of the software running on this device, so as you can see, it says Android version protected there, but I can assure you it runs Android 4.3 with HTC Sense 5.5. You have the usual things like blink feed, which you can turn on or off now. Blink feed works just as you would use it on the regular HTC One. There are a couple new things, like you can pull in sources for blink feed from Instagram and various other things. Apart from that, the video highlights have a new change as well. Now when you take a bunch of pictures, for example, let me show you the pictures I took in Singapore. Now when you take a bunch of pictures, you can see that it makes a very fast video highlight reel right there. You also have new themes that you can select. Each of them change the soundtrack and the effect that you use, which is pretty cool, I guess. So if you're a fan of video highlights, that's definitely out there. The gallery also has a slightly changed UI wherein you can swipe between your pictures and locations if you have geotagged the pictures that you've taken. So all in all, there are some nice improvements, very small but nice improvements. You have 16 GB of internal memory in here with 2 GB of RAM. There's also, and a lot of you are going to like this, a micro SD card slot at the back. There's a little button right there which you can push to open the back panel, which comes off pretty well, as you can see right there. And you get access to the SIM card, the micro SD card slot, and you can see the 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera. And this nice little thing over here is the fingerprint sensor, which I'll talk about in a sec. Putting the back panel back on is a little bit of an issue because it still isn't as nice as the unibody design of the HTC One, but I guess HTC tried to please everybody over here. One thing that I do like though is that the power button is now on the right side along with the volume button, so it's a lot easier to lock and unlock the HTC One. At the top you just have the IR blaster and the 3.5mm audio jack. At the bottom you have the standard micro USB charger and the pinhole for the microphone. And like I said, you have the release slot, the back panel release right there. To give you a quick idea of the fingerprint sensor works pretty okay. I'm not a big fan of it, but basically you set it up and it'll tell you that the fingerprint sensor is at the back. You press continue, it'll tell you to tap the finger you want to set up, and then you swipe your finger 4 times. So you swipe it once, swipe it twice, a third time, and a fourth time, and then it should say fingerprint recorded successfully. Then you can just put in a passcode in case your finger gets chopped off or something. In this case, I'm just putting in HTC One because, well, it's simple enough. And then you can assign something for your fingerprint to do. In this case, you can assign it to unlock your screen, to start up the camera, to go to home, the voice assistant, or you can choose an actual specific app to open up with your fingerprint. It's a little slow to choose your app list, but there you go. So I'm gonna choose unlock. As you can see, the funny thing that HTC has done over here though is that they've purposely limited this to just 2 more fingers. So you can only add a maximum of 3 fingers to do 3 different things with the fingerprint sensor, which seems like a very strange limitation. If you set it to unlock the screen, you basically have to use your finger to swipe to unlock, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you use it. You can't just swipe to unlock right from the screen. You have to power the screen back on and then swipe to unlock right there. So for what it's worth, I guess it's an okay feature if you're crazy about security. Personally, I haven't found it that much of a big deal. Now, the HTC One Max design is very similar to the HTC One Mini. The reason I say this is because the HTC One Max has a lot of plastic all around, polycarbonate rather, and it doesn't have the chamfered cool edges that the HTC One regular edition had. The HTC One regular, by comparison, looks a lot nicer in my opinion, with the chamfered edges and the I don't know, overall less plastic than with the HTC One Max. So you do lose out on those chamfered edges. They both look pretty nice though in person. The boom sound speakers are still around, the wide angle front facing camera is still around. Even the much hated or liked 2 buttons. Oops, sorry, let me unlock the screen. Okay, the 2 button setup right there with the home button and the back button. You can long press the home button to start up Google Now, and you can double tap the home button to show your recent apps. So yeah, all in all, it's a giant HTC One basically. Not really a lot of new things. There's also a couple new small things in HTC Sense, like a do not disturb mode, where you can basically set it up to turn off all the incoming calls and sound and vibrations and you can set it up to turn off automatically after a couple of hours or half an hour, and add exceptions to the list. Like you can add exceptions like certain people or certain apps. So that's, I guess, a very cool thing that they have implemented. Apart from that, yeah, it's your regular HTC Sense that we've seen on the HTC One beforehand. Again, it is basically a giant HTC One with a couple design changes. So far, I've been using it for a week. The battery life has been pretty good. You have, I think, 3,300 mAh battery powering all of this. It is non-removable. You can't remove it from the back panel, as you just saw, but it is good enough to last. According to HTC, it should last up to 25 hours on CDMA, 28 hours on CDMA rather, and 25 hours on WCDMA. So standby time is supposed to be 558 hours. We'll see if that's actually true. On the non-final firmware so far that I've been running, it has been pretty okay. It hasn't been super great, but it has been pretty okay. I can't complain. So that's basically the HTC One Max. Just to give you an idea of what I missed out on explaining, there's 2G, 3G, there's LTE if your country supports it in some regions. There's a micro SIM card at the back. There's a built-in gyro sensor, accelerometer, proximity sensor, ambient light sensor, and the fingerprint scanner, of course. You also have NFC, Bluetooth, 4.0 with the app text enabled. There's Wi-Fi, DLNA. You have a couple cool accessories for the HTC One Max that I will show off in another video. You have Sense, voice, and you also have this cool new thing that HTC is a cool new app that HTC is included on the HTC One Max called Scribble. Scribble is basically their attempt to allow you to have note taking. I apologize for that person's honking, but basically it allows you to record, sketch rather, different things on your gigantic HTC One Max. You can see there are some templates built in, like a birthday card or a greeting card, or even a blackboard or craft paper. What's very cool is the month view, where you can basically select a month, date, and sketch something for that, or even write something if you want. So all in all, it's quite nice. You need a stylus for this, though. There is no stylus built into the HTC One Max, which is kind of against sketching, but you can use any normal stylus with it, I guess. So just to tell you a little bit about the camera, we have the same HTC ultra pixel camera with a BSI sensor and pixel size of 2.0. You have a sensor size of 1/8, and you have a dedicated HTC Iris chip 2 inside there, and the lens is f2.0 aperture with a 28mm lens. There's also something called Smart Flash, wherein HTC's put in 5 levels of flash that automatically set according to the distance to the subject. You have 1080p video recording. It's the same UI that we've seen on HTC's one device before. You have HTC Zoe, of course, as usual. You also have this new dual capture mode and anti-shake mode. The dual capture mode is very similar to, as you can see, Samsung's implementation, which allows you to take a video or a picture of yourself while you're looking at something else. And then there's the usual HDR mode, panorama mode, and anti-shake mode. So all in all, it's pretty good. The camera does have OIS, so it is nice, I guess. It's just a giant HTC One. We're in 12 minutes now, so I guess I should end the video right now. I've basically given you all the information I have about this phone, and I have been using it for a week, so I will put up a preview. But as always, if you guys have any questions about the HTC One Max, do let me know in the comment section below, or check out the detailed post over at unleashthephones.com.